Thank you so much for joining us today to discuss the Greater Cabarrus Foundation grant criteria and grant making process. This is somewhat of a makeup session. We had the first session on Friday, June the 13th, where we had 37 people from various nonprofit agencies across Cabarrus County come to participate. And this session is for those folks who are unable to be there. So I'm so pleased that you're able to join us today. And here's our plan for today. We would like to be able to just give a high-level overview of the grant making criteria and the process that we will follow. We'll leave some time at the end for question and answer. And we need to wrap up and be done by 1:35 or 1:40. So that is our plan for today. A little bit of housekeeping items. First is that we are recording this webinar so that we can share it with others later. When you have a moment, please enter the chat area and provide us with this information. We would love to have your first and last name, your email address, and identify the agency with whom you work so we can send you some materials when this webinar is complete. If you have a burning question that can't wait, please feel free to raise your hand or interrupt. Otherwise, it would be best if you could enter the chat area and type your question there, or hold it till later during the question and answer period. One of my colleagues, Cindy Stone, is joined us, and she's going to be monitoring the chat area to be able to help me manage those questions and information that's needed from the participants. Again, after the webinar, we will like to email you some PDF documents. We will email you a copy of the grant application evaluation rubric, and then a copy of the grant application itself. So please, again, join the chat, enter your name, your email address, and the agency that you represent. All right. With all that said, let's jump into our grant making criteria and the process. First thing I want to talk about is the rubric. The rubric is designed to ensure a transparent alignment with our foundation's values. We developed it over a period of several months. It was developed by our grants committee, which consists of our Greater Cabarrus Foundation staff, some of our board members, and some community members, as well as subject matter experts, people who are expert in measurement and evaluation. There was around 10 people, between 10 and 12 people that came to those meetings each time, and we got great feedback and input, and we feel really good about this application and the rubric that we've developed. Our rubric has 5 criteria that are consistent with the mission, values, and strategic objectives of the foundation, and reflects our interest in the social determinant priorities that we have as part of the Greater Cabarrus Foundation. We are interested in focusing on measurement of both organizational capacity and community impact. That is, how much capacity does the organization have to utilize grant resources, and how big of an impact are they going to make in the community? The intent of this rubric is to define these quantitative measures and help the grants committee get to a short list. As I'll explain in a few minutes, after this short list is developed, the grants committee will then use more qualitative measures, some more subjective measures to help identify the eventual grant recipients. But the first stage is really quantitative, narrowing down a large group of applications by using objective criteria, objective measures to help identify a short list of potential recipients. So with respect to the rubric, it's got 5 evaluation areas, and the different criteria are scored on a 5-point scale. One of the things that this rubric does and our grant criteria does is it encourages self-assessment and continuous quality improvement on behalf of the agencies. In a moment, I'll be able to explain that more for you. Again, it's designed to balance both qualitative and quantitative criteria. And we are trying to really emphasize the local impact and the organizational readiness that an organization has to be able to utilize resources to help members of our community. So this is a screenshot of the first page of the rubric. And you'll see that up and down the vertical axis on the left, we've listed the first three criteria there. And then across the horizontal axis, across the top, you'll see definitions of those 5-point rating scale, where some things will be ranked exceptional, excellent, acceptable, emerging, and insufficient. So our first criteria in our grant making rubric is alignment with social determinant issues. And an organization's application would be rated as exceptional if it had strong, specific, direct alignment with more than one of the foundation's social determinant issues. And those social determinant issues include housing and homelessness, food and nutrition, healthcare, early childhood education, and employment and training. So if an agency had direct alignment with more than one of those things, let's say an agency did both housing and homelessness and helped with food and nutrition, then they would be ranked as having an exceptional score for the alignment and social determinant issues. An agency that was strongly aligned with one of the social determinant issues would get an excellent score, or 4 out of 5. An agency that had a general or indirect alignment would get an acceptable score. And then you see the criteria for emerging if their alignment was unclear, and an insufficient score if there was no alignment with our social determinant issues. So that's the first of 5 criteria: alignment with social determinant issues. The second criteria is support for Cabarrus County residents. That is an important measure for us because the Greater Cabarrus Foundation is dedicated to raising money and providing grants to nonprofit organizations in Cabarrus County that serve Cabarrus County residents. So here are the different measures of the criteria, different levels. An exceptional would be an organization that's headquartered in Cabarrus County and 100% of the population they serve is here in the county. An excellent score would be if Cabarrus County was part of a regional, statewide, or national agency that serves 100% of its residents in Cabarrus County. So the difference would be the first exceptional would be for a nonprofit that's only in Cabarrus County. The second column would be for a nonprofit that may be part of a national nonprofit organization, but it's dedicated strictly to serving Cabarrus County residents. An acceptable score would be a nonprofit that has headquarters in Cabarrus County, but it's part of a larger agency, and the majority of its clients are served here in Cabarrus County. And then you'll see that an emerging score would be for an organization that is here in Cabarrus County, and their service area includes Cabarrus County, not exclusively Cabarrus County. And then the last one would be insufficient if they have no presence in the county. So that's our second grant criteria: support for Cabarrus County residents. The third criterion that we have implemented into our rubric is effective board governance. And you'll see that there are 4 different measures of board governance: evidence of an active board that meets regularly, presence of a strategic plan or a demonstrated alignment between mission and services, transparency in financial practices, and evidence of board bylaws and written board policies. So if an agency had evidence of all four of those things, they would be ranked as exceptional. If they only provided evidence to demonstrate three of those four things, they would be ranked as excellent. An agency that only has two of those four measures would be acceptable. One measure would be emerging, and if they didn't have any of those four things, then they would be ranked as insufficient with no evidence of effective board governance. So, effective board governance is our third criterion. Here is the second page of the rubric, and you'll see our last two criteria. The fourth is financial stability. And again, we've identified four different measures of financial stability: realistic, well-planned operating budget, evidence of diverse revenue streams, maintenance of sufficient operating reserves, a manageable level of debt relative to the assets, which would reflect responsible borrowing practices. If an agency had all four, they'd be exceptional. Three of the four, excellent. Two of the four, acceptable. One of the four, emerging. And none of the four would be insufficient. Our fifth and final criterion is evidence of continuous quality improvement. Four things here. If the agency completed the 5 elements self-assessment, which is the tool the Greater Cabarrus Foundation uses in helping agencies with the organizational review process. That self-assessment is available free of charge, and if the agency completes it, that's one of the four things. If the agency attended the annual nonprofit workshop supported by the Cooperative Christian Ministry, happens at the end of August. If the agency completed and scheduled an organizational review, one of the free services that the Greater Cabarrus Foundation offers. And the fourth thing would be if they participated in other professional development events or services. So there's four things. Again, if an agency had all four, they'd get exceptional. Three of the four, excellent. Two of the four, acceptable, and so on. One thing of note is that, well, I'll get to that when we get to the application, but what I was going to say is that we are not going to be documenting or asking for evidence that agencies completed any of these continuous quality improvement steps. That part of it is the honor system. Many of the other criteria require upload of documents, which I'll cover in a moment. So let me move on now to the grant application itself. As described earlier, it's open to nonprofits that serve Cabarrus County residents. It's going to be an online application with different sections that include things like the agency information and mission alignment, the needs, what operating needs the agency has, and then outcome measurement and evaluation plans. We will require uploads, some board documents, some financials, and a strategic plan. And if selected, the agency needs to agree to provide a final report of how they use the money so that they can be eligible for future funding opportunities. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave the PowerPoint presentation and I'm going to actually open the PDF document of the application and share that with everybody. So here it is. Hopefully you can see it. This is the actual PDF document that we're happy to email to you. And you'll see that the first section is just biographical information about the agency, things like the name, address, primary contact, and those sorts of things. We're requesting updated agency board information, so a Word or PDF document with a list of your board members. The next section is criterion 1. We just reviewed the 5 criteria of our rubric, so this set of questions is aligned with that criterion in the rubric. So we would ask agencies to check which of these social determinant issues they're working on. And there'll be an opportunity to indicate other and to list those. describe your agency's mission and how it aligns with these issues. At this point, we're having a 100-word maximum, but we're also allowing agencies to upload supplemental documents. So if you want more words or more space to describe your mission and how it aligns with these social determinant issues, you'll be able to upload it in a separate supplemental document at the end. This next section, support for Cabarrus County residents, aligns with criterion 2 on our rubric. So it asks what percentage of the people your agency serves lives in Cabarrus County. So folks can indicate a range, 76 to 100, 51 to 75, and so on. We also wanted to measure that there are different numbers of folks, and we wanted to get at the raw number. So an agency might say that 100% of the people they serve is in Cabarrus County, but they only serve 13 people in Cabarrus County. Another agency might say that 75% of the people they serve are in Cabarrus County, and that equals 150 people. So we want to be able to get an idea of the percentage of folks that are in the county, as well as the raw number of people served in the county. We're asking you to identify your current and most pressing needs and how you might use the operational funding. And remember that we don't provide support for capital projects. We provide support for operating needs. So things like buying more cans of food, purchasing more medicine, helping to subsidize more salaries, so that your agencies who are already doing really good work in our community have more resources to do that good work. We're asking agencies to identify the value of their grant request and how those dollars would be used to help support operations here in Cabarrus County. So that's what question 7 is about. Question 8 is about how you plan to measure outcomes. How do you know that the dollars you're being granted are being put to good use? And we're interested to know how you would define outcomes for those grants. This next section, effective board governance, again aligns with the 3rd criteria in our rubric. And we're asking for board meeting minutes from previous board meetings, a copy of your bylaws, and a copy of your strategic plan. The 4th area is financial stability. These are documents that every nonprofit should have. These are your standard 3 documents, an operating budget, a statement of activities, and a balance sheet. Those are things that every agency should have. So we feel like we're not asking for too much. The 5th and final criterion is this evidence of continuous quality improvement. And again, here's those different events. We would just ask you to check that you attended those. We're not going to check attendance. We're not going to, check on you. It's the honor system here. So agencies can also identify other professional development workshops that they participated in. So that's a hard copy of the application. The final section is this attestation saying that everything that you put in here is truthful, and that you understand that if granted for the purpose of this grant, that you will provide a report later for how you use the grant funds. So let me stop that document and shift now back over to the PowerPoint so we can wrap that up and be able to take some questions. Okay, so we just went through the grant application. The qualitative review. After the grants committee has selected applicants for the short list using the rubric, they will then assess the potential impact of applications on the organizations. It's likely that the grants committee will have discussions about things like how well does this agency align with the Community Health Needs Assessment greatest needs or our social determinant issues. What's the likelihood of the organization to be able to have a positive impact on the community? What's the relative impact? How many community members would be served? And what's the long-term viability of the agency? Is this agency still going to be here in 3 years? Or is this something that's on its threads, on its last threads, and might not be here? Those are the types of things that we think our grants committee will review and discuss after the quantitative review is complete. Let me say a few words about the grant application portal. It's very user-friendly, and it can be accessible for all submissions. You're going to be able to upload documents in multiple formats. You'll be able to save and come back. The application deadline is September 1st at 11:59 p.m. And if you have any questions, Cindy Stone is our point person to be able to answer any questions you may have. We anticipate this is our first year of operation. In 4 days, we'll be 1 year old. So we're very pleased to announce that we're going to have 3 to 5 grants of $3,000 to $5,000 each. That said, we are in active conversations with other community investors in our community about providing some additional funding so that we can offer both more grants and larger grants. But at this point, we're willing to commit to 3 to 5 grants of $3,000 to $5,000 each. It is modest, but we're only 1 year old, and these dollar amounts will certainly grow in the future. Here's the grant cycle timeline and milestones. Today is the 26th, so here's our webinar. The application will be open on July 1st, so next week. It'll be open for about 60 days, whole month of July and the whole month of August. And then we've got our first committee meeting scheduled for September 5th through September 22nd. On October 13th, our grants committee will meet and they will make their decisions on what they want to recommend to the full board. Our full board meets on November 13th, and they will consider the recommendations from the grants committee. And then after the board approves those awards, we will notify recipients and make public announcements after November 13th. So that concludes what I had planned for today. And I'll just remind you that if you have questions about the process, please contact Cindy Stone. She's our point person to help our agencies. And at this point, I'll stop sharing and we'll be able to entertain the questions that we have in the chat area. So let me open up the chat and see if there's any questions. We got people introducing themselves. We got Crystal Emmerich from Brave Step. We got Kristen Kitchen. We got Starla Hatley from the Cabarrus Partnership. Ann Wall, Heather Boyd from Habitat Cabarrus. Hello, Heather. Looks like Kristen's from Atrium Health, Hospice of Cabarrus County. Ann's from the Mount Pleasant Food Ministry. We got Christy Hayes with the Junior Charity League of Concord. Hello, Chrissy. And Carol Hendry from Guardian Keepers. And then a question from Cherie. Hi, Cherie. Good to see you again. Can this be filled out electronically? Meaning, can the document be filled in? Yes. So we've just showed you hard copies, but there is an online version, and folks will be able to go online and complete it and submit it online. If folks have technical challenges or prefer to have a hard copy option, then we can definitely provide a hard copy, and hard copies will be received.
I do have one more question I wanted to add on. So just want to make sure I understand. So you're going to choose between 3 to 5 agencies, correct, for this grant? Okay. And then my second question is, after you have sent out the agencies that will be awarded, will you be sending out any feedback for the ones that did not get awarded, just so they kind of know like what happened, what they could have done better, or maybe it just wasn't enough to submit, be awarded?
It's a great question. Frankly, to be candid and honest, we had not got that far yet with what the notification would look like to those agencies that were not successful, but your feedback is really important. And if that would be of benefit to the agencies who were not successful, having some feedback about why they were awarded or why they weren't, or what they could do to strengthen their application next time, that's something that we can definitely include. So we will make a note of that and do our best to provide meaningful feedback so that y'all can improve the next time. Chrissy asked a question. It does not sound like it, but to confirm, there's no site visit. That's correct. We are not going to have site visits. Since the Greater Cabarrus Foundation started a year ago, we've been doing site visits with our staff, and we're not asking the grants committee to participate in site visits at this time. Are there any other questions, concerns, feedback, suggestions, recommendations, complaints, anything? Okay. Well, hearing none, as I said at the top, we will be happy to send a PDF copy of both the rubric and the application to anyone who provided their email address. And Cindy's always available to answer questions. All of this information either is on the website or will be on the website on July 1st. I think everything's on the website except for the application might not be live yet, but all the other content is available on our site. And we're looking forward to our grants committee receiving applications and then being reviewed. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Stay cool and keep on doing the good work you're doing to help people in our county. We appreciate it.